We bring together top leaders and experts to share their unfiltered truth about the journey to self-actualization and the path to heart-centered leadership. You'll hear raw lessons, learn ancient wisdom, and practical steps to rise to your fullest potential. Now is the time to walk into this new paradigm of leadership. Let's transcend together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Transcendent Leadership. I am your host, Carissa Johnsen. As I'm saying this, I'm getting really emotional because this has been a journey to get here. To be able to get to this moment and share these words and to be this woman and to feel the way that I feel about myself, about where I'm going, about where I am leading and taking us, as well as the people who have so graciously said yes to these interviews that we're going to have. Oh, I just want to take a moment and just feel reverence and respect for the journey of life, because where I have been has been really, really, really difficult and exciting at the same time. I've experienced this full spectrum of life, this duality of the hardest moments I've experienced the last couple of years, and yet the most expansive and blissful yet. And for those of you who have been following me for a while and who know and have listened to this podcast, you know that in December of 2020, I took a break. And I want to say we're almost in 4 years now of podcasting. It's been several years of podcasting. I have never taken a break. We have had podcast episodes every single week. In rain or shine, sickness and health, to death do us part, we have had an episode. And I was and am devoted to showing up in that way of service. The reason why I took off time in December is because in the last year, I went through another really deep and profound spiritual awakening, which led me into greater alignment into my purpose, into my dharma, into my heart, into my feminine, into what I'm here to do and what I'm here to say and who I'm here to be led by. And in that moment, when I made that decision in December, it was really challenging for me because I love being of service. It is part of my gene keys. It is part of my human design. It is part of my astrology. It is in every cell of my being to be of service. And so when I took a step back from the podcast, it felt in some ways like I was not in the greatest amount of service I could be. And it was through accepting this season that I was really able to witness the totality of the service that I meant to show up here for in this full lifetime, and who I am meant to elevate here with me and raise the collective consciousness with. And so in December, when I took this time off, it was incredibly challenging, but I knew that it was necessary. And for those of you who know me, and if you don't know me yet, get ready, buckle up, because I live a very spirit-led life. I live a very adventurous life. And by that, I mean, I make decisions sometimes very quickly or sometimes very slowly. And sometimes I don't make decisions at all. When you're like, okay, of course, this sounds like everyone. But all of my decisions, especially that are really big, such as taking time off for the podcast, are led by spirit, my really profound divine connection to God, creator, universe, my guides, my angels. It's part of the work that I do in the world. I act as a bridge, as a medium in between these worlds. It's why I've studied shamanism and why I do spiritual work and energy healing and why I'm meant to be having this show is because I'm meant to talk about these ancient wisdoms and tools that are meant to be shared with the collective. And so I make decisions that seem very illogical, very irrational. They don't make sense on paper, such as moving across, I don't want to say across the country, but across states in a matter of a week and really uprooting my entire life because I felt led to be in Colorado from San Diego, California. It means taking pauses on podcasts when there's momentum and there's excitement, but it doesn't feel in alignment and there's something greater calling me. It means getting rid of my business coaching business and branch of that, that base of service that I was offering to step into leadership and energy healing work and more spiritual work, especially when I had cash coming in. I had sold out coaching packages and retreats. And yet here I am. I am in the most amount of alignment I've ever been. I am in a greater level of my heart and connection with God because I took these few months off of podcasting. I was able to really give this podcast a chance to be what it's meant to be. It used to be Freedom Designers, and I have outgrown that name, and I have switched a lot in my energy, my vision, my identity, and what this podcast has wanted to be because it has its own consciousness. So I took these couple of months off and I've really given myself the space. And so now we're coming back better than ever. And as in a little bit here, I'm going to share with you what you can look forward to. I do want to take a minute just to share a little bit about what I've gone through these last couple of months so you can really get caught up and really dive into this space with me, knowing that I have radically transformed. I was on a call with my podcast production team, the owner of Evolve Podcasting, a dear friend of mine, Sammy, and we were talking about the adversity that I have faced. And in some regards, the resistance that I have really continued to meet within myself because I know that I'm meant to be here for a big purpose. And he was like, I have never witnessed somebody go through so much adversity as you have. And it's just clear. And he and I both were talking about how clear it is that when you go through something that it really encourages you to face confrontational things within yourself and really confront aspects of yourself or your patterns or your programming or your willingness to surrender or your relationships or your health. When you are asked to look in the mirror and you are asked to look at the divine being in front of you and ask that being and that beautiful heart that houses that being in that vessel of yours and ask yourself if you're in alignment and you're in your truth and you're playing full out. That is leadership, is you leading yourself first. That is going to be what we're going to be talking a lot about, is within the confines of transcendent leadership, what I have identified as the essence of what I'm here to do and teach. And so the last couple of months have invited me into a deeper understanding of who I am as a leader, who I am as a woman, who I am as a friend, who I am as a podcast host, who I am in all these different facets and different ways. And so one of the biggest things that I have learned about myself is that there were times and have been times, and there may still be times when, as a leader, I may be moving from trauma versus truth. And this is ultimately what I've been really focusing on these last couple of months is as I step forth and I claim what I'm desiring to do in the world, the impact that I want to make, it's important that I look at the ways in which I may be reactive, I may be impulsive, I may be triggered, I have belief systems around certain people and identities so that I can be the most open vessel and hollow bone for this work to move through me. And so it was really important these last couple of months that I did focus primarily on myself so that I could birth this thing through me. And I've integrated so much inner childhood healing. I will talk about what I became aware of fully in December of 2022 that really flipped my world upside down and was part of the reason why I needed to take time off. But for this moment, we will just say that there was something very significant that happened to me during my childhood that really painted a picture of the world that I have always looked through. Not being able to trust people, not being able to feel safe around people. It was the lens that I saw the world through. And now life makes so much sense. And now it has given me a greater capacity and level of compassion for trauma work and for love and for a relationship. And so, number one of the biggest things that I moved through these last couple of months was really being more embodied, really coming into wholeness. Many aspects of what transcendent leadership is about realizing that we are whole bodied beings. We have lived in a paradigm that has this very hyper masculine dominated and highly rewarded essence that is infused in everything, especially leadership. And I think that there are very soft, loving skills such as nurturing, compassion, um, being embodied that are really important in leadership as well. And so for me to become the leader who has these conversations, who brings in other leaders on this podcast, it was really important for me to heal my relationship with the feminine, integrate aspects of myself from my childhood so that when I'm here, I'm really here. I'm really giving you my full attention. I'm not coming from a place that's trauma lensed or triggered. I'm really just fully present in this moment. And so it really invited me to take a look at, how do I want to lead? What is the model that I want to create? What is the legacy that I want to leave on this planet? And it is one for me that comes from within, and it comes from within because it comes from above. And I, in many ways, have learned a lot of my business acumen and leadership from things like books or other people's models or coaching. And over the last couple of years, I have intentionally not worked with a coach outside of counselors and psychotherapy that I was doing and healing work on myself, so that I am not learning from other people, which is I'm going to get to in a minute. And my second thing, which is about seasons, right? Like I was in a season of realizing that I wanted to cultivate my voice. What is my voice? What is my truth? What are my beliefs? What's important to me? And when you are a high achieving individual, you can often look for wisdom and truth and knowledge in things outside of you, including books and podcasts, which I love. Obviously, I have a podcast. I think they're really important. However, wisdom comes from within. It comes from learned experience. It comes from reflection. It comes from difficulty and what you learn about yourself. That is what enlightenment and self-actualization and our human potential is all about. It's about you continuing to meet you getting to know you. Of course, it's about what you can do in the world, but mostly it's about who you can be and what you can experience, most importantly. And so I've been experiencing new levels and understandings of me. I've been coming into my feminine more. I've been recognizing what my voice, my leadership, my truth sounds like, and how I want to continue to emphasize the thing that I love doing the most, which is my storytelling, me having conversations with people about their journey of triumph, their journey of difficulty, their raw, real lessons of what they have faced to offer hope to the world, to really paint a picture that anything is possible, to recognize that transcendence means to go beyond our limitations, to go beyond ourself. And I had to do that. And so that is fundamentally what I did, is I came into deeper understanding of myself so that I can actually transcend beyond self and to go beyond limitation. And the second thing that I was really focusing on, that I'm hoping that you'll really tune into the resonance and frequency of what I'm saying here, is that I really understand now more than ever before the importance of seasons. I have moved to Colorado, and encountering a winter is nothing new when you're from Chicago, but living in San Diego and living in California was very different for me. Every day was 70 and sunny. And when I was called to move to Colorado, there was a very clear understanding and very clear guidance that it was important that I tune in to my seasons and my cycles and recognize that Mother Earth is mirroring for us how to really navigate this world in a more loving and compassionate way. She's holding us, she's providing for us. And in many ways, I think that the natural disasters and catastrophes that are happening in the world are such a mirror of the way that we treat our inner world, our body, ourselves, because we are a part of nature as well. So I moved to California, or I moved to Colorado, and I was here in a winter month, and it was a very interesting experience because I had not been in winter in 4 years. And so I was really internal and I was really reflective, and I was not sharing up as much. I was showing up as much. I was not teaching as much. And I had to, and I chose to, and I desired to go into this phase, this temporary experience, to cultivate more within myself. Because what many people, especially peak performers, in this day and age, are really coming into more awareness around is that the best way to manage high levels of performance and achievement, which we are not knocking by any means, because I think that is some of the greatest sense of accomplishment you can have, is from what you create in the world, who you become, and how importantly is how you get there as well. But in order to sustain success, in order to rewrite the paradigm and the narrative of what it means to be successful and be a leader, we have to understand growth equations and how this actually works, right? We need helpful stress, which is this achievement, this energy, this stretching ourselves, meeting our edges, but we also need rest. We need time periods where we are recalibrating, we are recovering, where we are really doing our best to take it easy. And I've shared this before in the podcast, but it's really important. Roger Bannister, before he ran the 4-minute mile, he was not necessarily training as hard as he could. He was in the mountains, he was hiking, he was taking care of his body, knowing that he was going to exert a lot of energy during that time. And so when I received this message that my life will now look like intervals, where there will be months of really a lot of movement and activity and productivity, and then there will be weeks or months of a lot of rest and recovery, and just to tune into the cycles and the seasons of life where I am being led, I was able to learn that from this season of being in Colorado and seeing how nature is so intelligent. It needs the winter months and then things for them to die, for them to be reborn, for them to blossom. Like right now we are in spring. And interestingly enough, I have had so many issues recording these podcasts. There were delays, whether it be like the graphic, something happened with the graphic, it didn't look right. The description wasn't landing fully. I was still going through a process. And interestingly enough, a couple of weeks ago, I recorded this actual first episode, and something happened with the audio where it totally glitched out, and we are baffled by the production team, and I are like, we have no idea what happened in that audio. And I think it was because I was meant to record it today. Because do you know what today is? Today is Easter. And I feel like I am personally going through my own resurrection. I am blossoming, I am blooming, I am in some ways coming back from the dead because there was a part of me that has kind of died off, and I've fully integrated that part of me to become who I am in this moment. But had I not been in tune with this season, with these cycles that I've been experiencing in Colorado, I might have tried to push through or force. And the vision that I keep experiencing and having is of a world where we recognize that sometimes when you meet resistance, it's not actually meant to be pushed through. There might be a reason why it's not divine for you to launch that thing. And that is life mastery, where we are like, okay, is this avoidance? Is this resistance? Is this not divine timing? I don't always know either, but I knew that something wasn't right with the timing of this. And now it feels perfect and now it feels aligned. And sure, there might be tendencies that I've overcome of perfectionism where I've wanted the audio sound quality and the video to land a certain way. We're streaming it now. So you might be hearing this, but we're also streaming on Facebook, and we're going to be doing that once a week on Monday. We haven't figured out the exact time yet, but probably around 11 a.m. MST. You're going to be able to actually watch this, and this is going to be on YouTube. So there's been aspects of this that have needed to come together in order for me to put it out there in the way that I've wanted. And I feel like I've given birth to a baby because it's been really hard. Moments of wanting to give up, moments of wanting to be like, I literally can't give up, then moments of confusion, moments of it landing and then being inspired. And it has totally been a labor of love to bring this podcast to you. And it means so much to me. I was just crying and getting teary-eyed right before this because this is the thing. I know that this is podcasting is like what I'm meant to do. There's something about this where I see like this show and I'm interviewing people and people are learning, and it's just like it's the thing. It's something I'm so excited about, and I just feel really happy that it's finally here. So I've learned what my seasons are. I've learned how to focus more on intervals of like productivity and moving forward, and also rest and respite and going inward, right? The divine masculine where there's this energy directed outward, and the feminine where there's this receiving, yin and yang. This is the balance. This is life. This is what Mother Nature teaches us. This was what shamanism is all about, coming into right relationship with ourselves, with Mother Earth, realizing that there's so much synergy and synchronicity and like the ways that we are infused with every aspect of her. She's always teaching us. And the last thing about what I've learned before I share with you what you can expect is that I have been humbled, and I have learned again that this is so much bigger than Carissa. This is why this podcast is not called The Carissa Show, because it's not about me. It's never been about me. Sure, the logo is my name, and yes, the signature is cute and pretty, but this has never been and will never be about Carissa. I am an open vessel, a hollow bone for this energy, this wisdom, this transformation to move through me. And I pray and I ask that this touches millions of lives. My desire is for this to reach 1 million people in the next 5 years. And that's a pretty lofty goal, but it's one that I believe that we can achieve if we all together and we share this message together. That it's because it's not about me. I'm going to have, believe me when I say we have the most amazing guests. Some people I admire and I've read their books. I participate in the things that they're doing in the world. It's going to be insane what we have coming up here. But in order for me to hold this vision, I have had to let go of the ego and really remove and get in touch with the part that wants Carissa to be seen, wants Carissa to be validated, wants Carissa to be loved. Because as a leader, it makes sense that we want those things. As a human, we want those things. But people are not going to like me. People are not going to like this podcast. People are not going to really care about what I have to say. And yet there will be people who love it, people who love me, people who love this podcast. But guess what? I cannot be swayed by either. I cannot be shaken up by the people who love me and get caught up in it. And I cannot be shaken up by the people who don't like me and get caught up in that. So being grounded in my truth, in my heart, being able to stand here and say that this is not for me, this is for you, to really be of service, to bring this ancient wisdom, these tools, these conversations to leaders, to high performers, to professionals, to people who want to make an impact in a paradigm in the world that is massively changing and needs us to use our voice, use what we know, share what we've learned, because everybody is a leader, everybody has a voice, and we all matter. And I'm here to claim this very moment that I am going all in. I am not holding back anymore around my perfectionistic tendencies for things to look a certain way, for things to always resonate with everyone. I talk about very unusual and weird concepts sometimes on my social media around spirituality, around some of the rituals and practices that I do, around some of the visions and the things that I receive. And I'm not holding back anymore. And that's scary. It's a little confronting because there's fear around cancel culture. There's fear around being publicly humiliated. There's fear around having to defend my stance publicly. And this is part of the territory. And while I don't want to call that in, I will say that I am here to experience all of it, all of the resistance, all the fear, all the doubt, all the confusion, all of it. I am just ready for it because there is not a day that goes by that I don't have something that I want to help somebody with. There's not a day that goes by that I don't want to be of greater service through my own experiences and through sharing what I feel might be helpful and important. And so if I can just help one person every single day, and that does not mean that I sacrifice myself in that process, it just is genuinely what I want and I know that I'm here to do. It's it's about other people. That's what service is about. And if I held back because of fear of what other people are going to say, or fear of change, or fear of confrontation, or whatever it is, that would be the biggest and most selfish thing that I could ever do to these gifts that I've been given, to this platform that I have and that I've built. That to me is such a waste of life because it's very short and we don't know when it's going to end or when it's going to change. So this is me boldly claiming that this is the path that I am blazing, and I invite all of you to come with me into this new paradigm of success, of transformation, of leadership, of consciousness, of human potential, of wealth, of love. We're coming into greater levels of love, and this is going to be an epic time together. And so what you can look forward to in this season of Transcendent Leadership is us talking about how you can rise beyond your limitations, how to step into your leadership and human potential, and the guests that we have on. I can't say it enough because I just can't wait to share who they are. I am so blown away by their generosity, by their leadership, by their willingness to step forth into a time that really, really needs us. So I want you to be on this journey with us and to step into your next level of greatness, to go beyond the life and the sense of self that you ever thought possible. And every week, if you choose to join us, I promise you that you will leave feeling inspired, that you will leave with practical steps, that you will leave with a sense of connection and community to something greater than you. That is my promise. That is my prayer. That is the vision. That is what I'm holding. So thank you for being on this journey with me, with you, with us, because we are transcending together. So tune in every week as we rise into this new consciousness and level of leadership. And I am so humbled and grateful that this is what I get to do, and this is how I get to lead, and this is how I get to inspire others. So thank you for being on this journey with us. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.